Ep42 has reached its swan song, with one of the all-time figureheads in Welsh surfing as our guest of honour.
The Gill. What can we say? Present for every key moment from the moon landings to the first time someone surfed Britain's biggest slabs.
The greatest tales from the greatest of legends. Coming up in the next hour and a bit of your listening life.
Yeah, I can't believe it's actually happened. I need to pinch myself. This plan has actually come to fruition. This is the moment I get to say the following. Welcome to Crest in partnership with Elusive, Paul Gill.
It's a pleasure.
The Gill.
Pleasure.
The legend himself. Where do we begin?
Well, you can start at the beginning.
Actually, let's begin with today. Where did you surf today, or did you?
I didn't. I went down and took some shots of Langland's storm break because I've got a bad back. I was surfing 2 days ago on the Spanish left, secret spot of Langland.
Oh, yeah.
The trough. On my shortboard.
Yeah.
Still got one.
Hardest wave in Wales to surf well, unless you know it.
There was about 4 people in, so I got some waves.
Yeah.
And I finished with an off the top. It's like this sort of manoeuvre where you go like this. It's quite radical for me.
Yeah.
And the twist put my back out. But I dropped in on some old bloke to do it. I was looking back, I checked, he was never going to make it. As I paddled out, I said to Pelosi, I just dropped in that old bloke. He said, he's about 10 years younger than you. So he's 56.
Now, like with last year, we're marking the mid and end points of the season with video editions. And of course, such a step indeed had to be done for the Gill. So that means that if you're getting the show through our YouTube channel, you can see us on the screen. And if you're on one of the podcast apps, then why not jump over to the YouTube for a look anyway. This video is down to the immense skills and support of the amazing camera anchor, a.k.a. Craig Nicol, who's on his second gig of the day after live streaming the Channel Coast contest from Lantwit all day. So to make sure he doesn't flag, we've filled him up with a curry anyway from the Gill's local, Kamal. He did know him, I can confirm. We went down there to pick it up and hello Paul, he said straight away.
Mr. Paul.
No. It was a fabulous curry.
Is that how we have to refer to you?
It was.
No, he just, that's how
Kamal's texted me as well afterwards.
Is he?
Yeah, he sent me a text saying,
oh,
if you can pay cash, you get free drinks. But it's like, I'd already paid him. But
too late.
There we go. Best food to prepare for any sort of creative endeavour, according to producer Dodd, and the hotter, the better too, apparently.
I'd been going there for 40 years to that curry house.
40 years.
Yeah, it's worked out that long now.
Yeah.
Because when we first used to go, they had like flock carpet
Really?
on the walls.
Yeah.
You know, it was
beautiful.
And I went, what's that? And it was a flea. Jumped off the wall.
Off the carpet.
Yeah, off the wall, carpeted walls.
So the walls had fleas?
Yeah, it was about 3 in the morning. You know, one of those curry houses. Yeah. But they've improved since.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah,
they've got a +1 now, I think, in food hygiene.
Yeah, and Kamal was saying he was looking for a roofer as well, wasn't he? So we can put the announcement out there for him.
Yeah. I can
if you're in the Langland area and you need a roofer, and you're a roofer.
Little Dave, master of gas chambers.
There we are.
Yeah.
And a creative project it is indeed. That's always the case with legends, and we don't use the word lightly here. A man whose reputation precedes him, a man who's placed in folklore routinely. Nearly every surfer who's ever met him will have done so during their own best ever surf trip.
That's right, indeed, Rob. I used to think of it as a mark of approval, like a gold standard. If you went on a trip and the Gill was there, you knew that you were surfing the best waves in Wales. And that's still pretty much the same now, isn't it? Apart from the million other days when he just cruises the Langland Strip. Let's ask about that place first then, shall we, before we move further afield? Because Langland has been home since when exactly? And what's the enduring appeal?
Well, probably 1976, the hot summer I came.
76.
And it was quite appealing on the beach of that summer.
Yeah. And what's kept you?
I met Sarah and got married. I was going to move on and stayed. But it's hard to leave here. Why would you go anywhere else?
Yeah.
You can always go on holiday to hot places and, tropical breaks and travel up around the cold parts. It's nice to come back to somewhere good. And that's what Langland is. And, I know everybody here. So it's comfortable.
And
A bit like my slippers, which I've got on.
they are, yeah. And like is the case, we spoke to PJ last year as well. Often these sort of, significant figureheads of some of these Welsh surfing communities like yourself harbour a dirty secret.
Yes.
That you are, in fact, a Liverpudlian originally.
Oh, yes, I'm not Welsh.
Yeah. So you grew up in Liverpool until what age was it?
I was Liverpool till I was 16 when I went to do A-levels in Manchester.
Yeah.
But I had a year in between where we went to Canada with my father, who's a traveller for work, and he used to be in the Merchant Navy and went on whaling trips down to the Antarctic and would bring photographs back, and I'd see all these shots.
So you had Wanderlust.
So, yeah, and he's always moving with his job. He was a nuclear engineer, and he'd go to all the different nuclear power stations. Dounreay was one of them, and I eventually went up there to have a look around. But, yeah, I've always wanted to travel. And with coming from a city, you think, I'm not going to spend my life here, if you've got any sense. And, well, I came here and stayed.
But as a childhood, you talk about, there's a couple of interesting things. You talk about growing up, going to school immediately behind a prison wall.
Yeah,
This is city
yeah,
life.
that was my junior school, was next to Walton Prison, which is a notorious prison, and they used to hang them in there when I was in school,
Really?
Yeah, the school bell would go.
It would be the hangman's
Everyone would leave, and it'd just be someone getting hung.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but gosh, well, what can you do?
It was a fact of life then.
And you were a regular at Anfield.
Anfield, yeah, all Liverpool supporters, all the family.
Yeah.
My father used to take us. I've got 3 brothers.
Right.
And 2 of them used to go to the match. My younger brother to me, he's 1 year younger, used to take us to Anfield, and he'd just dump us off at the gate because they'd go in the cop, and we were too young, so we'd have to go.
The cop was too intense.
Yeah, and you get crushed in the cop.
So the cop is
like
that's like the sand reef, whereas you guys are going in like.
We went in the boys'
something.
pen, which was like going into Borstal. As soon as you walk in, some bloke would go, "Hey mate, give us your money. I'll have your shoes." And there'd be a lot of spitting going on, if you didn't hand it over onto you.
And then you went and lived in Montreal.
So
in between moving from Liverpool to Manchester.
Yeah, from Liverpool we went. My father got a job with the nuclear power group in Montreal.
Yeah.
We went over there for a year. We flew over on a 747.
Yeah.
BOAC, British Overseas Airways. It was fantastic for me at the time, because nobody was really going places like that. They'd probably get as far as Mallorca. And so we lived in Montreal, went to school there, and at the end of his contract, we were going to come back to the UK, back to Manchester, sail. And we did a trip around the States on Route 66 in our Ford Falcon family trip, all round. Ended up in LA, went to Malibu, and I saw surfing there. That's where I first thought, because I used to love the sea and swimming.
Yeah.
Because back in Liverpool, I used to always go to the swimming baths, and I'd be competing in the school galas, and I never really made it to first, but I was always second fastest. So I had a sort of affiliation with water.
You thought, I'm going to be able to do that.
And I thought, yeah, that's for me.
Yeah.
And I think it was 1966 in California at Malibu, and they were surfing, and I was probably looking at Mickey Dora surfing. I didn't realise it, but I probably was. He'd be in there on all the swells. And
probably the Alberg brothers. And, I'm trying to think who were the Malibu locals. And,
But I later went on to see him in France, so that's another story.
Yeah.
Then up the coast of California to Santa Cruz, I think we stayed, and I was seeing the surf all over the place. Thought, this is it for me. I want to live on the coast when I'm old enough, when I can, fly the nest. And we ended up in Vancouver in 1966 for the World Cup. Liverpool supporters, Liverpool players playing. And we won the famous
the 4-2 England-Germany, the goal that never was.
Yeah, we thought it was all over.
Yeah.
And that capped off the trip. And then back across Canada, through, the prairies. My brother lives there now. He moved out and he's stuck in the middle of Canada. I went over a couple of years ago. It's not somewhere I'd want to live, but some people like it. Back to Montreal, and then we got the ship back to Liverpool, and then moved to Manchester, Sale, and I got put in Sale Grammar School for Boys to do my A-levels, which was art and geography, economics. Soon dropped out of economics. And ended up just doing the art.
Yeah, what artist needs to know about money and the economy and anything like that?
Well, it wasn't my cup of tea. So, but whilst in Sale Grammar, they passed me a rugby ball and said, play with this. That was like an insult to me.
Yeah.
From Liverpool. I thought, this is England. Surely nobody touches that shaped ball. But they did in Sale. Apparently they're quite good. And anyway, I did golf instead of rugby. I said, no, I'll just take up golf. Anyway, so Sale Grammar for Boys. One good thing came out of it. We did a trip to north of Scotland with the geography teacher. And we went to Betty Hill. And I'd been interested in surfing, and I was dying to see the coast up there. This was in about 1971, I suppose.
Yeah.
And up to Scotland we went. We all stayed on the school floor in Betty Hill School, and he'd take us on all these great trips around the north of Scotland. And there were waves breaking all the time, and I'd be down by the water just thinking, oh God, this takes me back to California. I need to come up here one day, and I'd like to maybe surf here. That wasn't Thursday, that was just Betty Hill. So anyway, time went by, and I got into art college. I did a year in Stockport, a foundation course, and then decided to take a year off so I could go surfing.
Properly surfing. But before this, had you ridden waves? Like, so while you were in Stockport, had you been? Because I remember you saying at some point you'd gone on trips.
Yeah,
some of it to Wales, wasn't it?
To Wales. That's where it started in Manchester. I had friends who, in the sixth form, who were quite keen. I sort of talked them into going surfing or to taking up surfing because they had a car.
Yeah.
I didn't, and we did. I think the first trip was to Anglesey, and I borrowed a board off somebody in Wilmslow, footballers area. He had a surfboard, which was very rare, and he was in the art. He was one of the arts.
What kind of length surfboard are we talking?
Oh, it was a mal.
A mal, right?
It was white plastic mal with some stuck round gummed up rail bands with a floral deck patch on the nose.
Okay. I've got an idea of what the answer's going to be based on all this imagery you've kind of given us so far, but when you actually managed to do the act of surfing, was the love of it immediate?
It was, and the relief when we got to Aberfrower Bay.
Anglesey,
Aberfrower.
Beautiful bay.
We weren't told where it was. We went, and I was good on maps and geography, and I sort of worked out that would be a spot to go. I didn't realise there was a whole surfing subculture going on, while I was there. That was Bez Newton and all the Solymar boys, which they had a North Wales surf club. Yeah. And I met them later on. But anyway, we surfed Aberfrower, and I stood up and went along. It was probably about 1 or 2 foot. And I thought, great, I've done it. It was like being a virgin, and then suddenly you've done it.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Cherry gone.
Yeah, you're going to do it forevermore, aren't you? And, as PJ says.
And you as well, you went to this drive to get to the coast took you to some very unconventional surf spots like Blackpool, Llandudno.
Oh, we'd
do waves break in Blackpool and
the other boys, that was the nearest spot was Blackpool, and there was a storm a bit like today.
Yeah,
it was blowing up. I thought we'll go and have a look at Blackpool, so we camped on the prom in his little van.
I wouldn't be able to do that.
Can't remember what it was. No, it was full fun fair and everything going on. But I think it was September or something. We had stupid, thin suits, beaver tails, and it was all cold. No gloves or boots. You didn't really notice the cold. But we went in, surfed Blackpool, high tide, brown, horrible, sloppy, choppy, And great. Went back. So another week in school. Where should we go next? It was northwesterly. Yes, blowing northwesterly. I soon realised Llandudno Pier had a left,
Really?
which was peeling off, and we rode it. There was two of us at this time, me and friend
Wow.
Rob Lucas, and we had great long rides. Probably wasn't very big. It's probably about 3 foot.
I
And-
did not know you could surf in
I don't think
London.
anyone does.
It sort of clicked in my mind then that you don't need an Atlantic Ocean to get
Yeah.
swell to surf on. And, you know, I think Magic Seaweed are only just finding this out now. So it's taken them some time. I think it's that the girl that operates the algorithms that didn't quite get it. But
Yeah.
I can tell you, you can get waves with about 60-mile fetch.
Really? So from there, though, you did broaden your fetch and you went and lived in Newquay,
Yes.
Cornwall for a year.
Yeah, that was
And then,
Holy Grail, Newquay.
yeah.
So I went and worked for a summer season in Newquay at Fistral Beach Hotel, which was right on the surf spot. You know, that was the premiership then.
Yeah.
Everyone went, had to go to Newquay to be a surfer, and I used to peel spuds, wash dishes, and surf then when I was off.
Yeah.
All the time, and that was it. You know, surfing was my life from then.
So you describe Newquay as the Holy Grail, the Premiership.
It was, yeah.
Why then did you ultimately choose Wales over Newquay?
Yeah, well, I'd made more trips than I'd sort of said to Wales, and my aim was to go to college in Wales so that I could surf and train to be something.
Of course, because we mentioned it very briefly earlier, but those of us that are familiar with you, Gill, being the man on the scene in kind of Welsh surfing, where you're the man on the ground, aren't you? Whenever there's action, people forget that you're an academic. You've and quite a high achieving one too. You've got you studied art photography at uni in Stockport.
Yeah, well, I did a foundation course in Stockport. I specialised when I came to Swansea in photography and printmaking, not photographic prints, litho prints.
Etching, like William Blake.
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
printing techniques. That was
Right.
that was my sort of genre, as it were. And I did 3 years of that, and then a year of teacher training college. I went to Kevin Hengoyd, and that was an experience. It's up in Bonamine in the back of Swansea, and I decided I was never going to teach again.
So that journey ultimately led you to becoming an art teacher.
Yes,
So you're in Wales at this point.
I'm in Wales.
You're in Wales at this point, and who are the characters that you kind of fell in with this time? I assume it's late 70s?
It was the mid-70s, actually, if we go back a bit. I came down and I met Paul Henry. He is the local legend, I'm not. Paul Henry is. He's one of the funniest blokes on the planet, and talented.
They float a little throne for him at the very top of the peak in Crab Island, don't they, on a good day?
He's hilarious, yeah. I remember one day on Crab, he came up and all he had was his fin in his hand, because he had a washing line attached to his fin on his 8-foot sort of mini mouth, which was concreted up round the nose. He's a man who's got millions, but he's never had a new board.
I've seen that board, I remember it, yeah.
And he still got the fin, he was overjoyed. And it was pumping surf. Paul Henry. Rawlin is who I shared a flat with in Chapel Street, opposite the chip shop in Mumbles, for years. And we were good friends, and they took me everywhere, and I sort of, started guiding them to a few spots eventually. Because I'd met Sarah, and she was from West Wales. She was born in Newquay. Obviously, there's no surf down there in Newquay, West Wales. But it's a starting point to look. You can occasionally see a little bit of swell coming in there.
Yeah.
So this love of surfing.
I like the little smile there.
I know, we all kind of exchanged sideways glances.
So you've been recently, I hear?
I have been recently, yeah. It's, the less said about that, the better. It was terrible.
Yeah, awful.
This love of surfing that led you to Wales ultimately led you to meet your future wife.
Yes, well, that was it. So, we got together, me and Sarah, and we had a few ups and downs, and finally got together after she allowed me to go to Australia for 3 months.
Very good of her.
Yeah.
And which bit of Australia?
It was like the whole pass,
Yeah.
But for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I went with Robin Bramall via Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Via Russia?
Moscow.
Is that because, are we flying or shipping?
Flying.
BOAC again? Yeah.
No, Aeroflot.
Aeroflot, of
Aeroflot,
course. Yeah.
lovely airline. And
What, did you stop at Russia?
we just stopped in Moscow. Yeah, didn't realise we were going to have to get off
Yeah.
because we had all our shorts and flip flops on, and it was January. Yeah. It was sideways snow on the runway, and there were no coaches. You
were expecting to
you
see
will go over here. Yeah, and
Expecting to see Sydney Opera House, but it's the Kremlin.
it was the Kremlin. I think there's a woman carrying this baby, and I think it was Gorbachev at the time, and he'd grown up, and it was that long ago. It was 1980, but I wanted to go to the toilet. That was the thing. I thought, oh God,
A long way to go.
the breakfast. It was coming.
The
through.
Aeroflot breakfast.
It was, so it's coming through the Moscow airport. Right, toilets. I walk along. I thought, I can just see all these heads and shoulders behind like a concrete wall.
Yeah.
I thought, oh dear. Then you walk around the front, and they're all open cubicles, and they're just sitting on the toilets.
Really.
I hadn't really been brought up.
Welcome to the
in
world
that.
of travel.
I thought, no, I'll hold on. I'll hold on. So the next stop, back on the plane, flip-flop, frozen, and it was Karachi. And I thought, there'd be Russians getting on. But they were all sort of Indians and,
Yeah.
Pakistanis with pots and pans and babies, and
All sorts.
they were shoving everything up on the luggage racks. And Robin's with me. He's just, he's there. He's like a big Buddha. He was just sleeping the whole way. And I can't sleep sitting up. And I had all this going on. I thought, I'll go and use the toilet now in the plane, in the Aeroflot. And the sort of man-woman at the back, which was the KGB officer, wasn't sure. She was supposed to be a stewardess, but early days anyway. She toilets. I went in. The whole back of the wall of the toilet looked like a curry. And I thought, I'll hang on now to Karachi.
To Australia.
I'll hang on to Karachi.
Oh, to Karachi, right, that's Russia.
Lands in Karachi. They just served us breakfast, because it was breakfast again, just the way we were flying.
Sorting out the jet lag.
It was ridiculous. So down in Karachi, and I like my food. And he said, Karachi breakfast? I said, yeah. So,
Curry.
it was curry burgers. So I had them. I want to get off. Oh, sorry, can't get off in Karachi. You can't get off in Karachi.
Oh, no.
There were some rules. And the next stop was somewhere in Malaysia. I forget the capital.
So this is days on an aeroplane then?
Felt like it. I was bunged up, put it that way.
Yeah.
I kept sitting.
Yeah.
And, I was sweating by the time we got to Kuala Lumpur, it was, that's right.
Yeah.
And I got off, went straight through. We were changing planes and everything, so I was in the airport. Straight into the toilet, and to my disappointment, no seat and curry all over the back wall. I joined in. I did as they did. Yeah, I had to sort of squat on the rim, and.
Well, we won't ask you about the waves in Australia, because we obviously know that they would have been all right. And
No, I think I can't remember the surf. But I had shaped my own surfboard by this point in time. 1980 it was.
with whom, like, in 1980, how do you get all the equipment to put a surfboard together? Is it there
I'd
are
shaped
companies
one in Mumbles.
Right.
Pete Crabb was starting to do boards called Island Style.
Right.
And
This precedes Crab Island then?
Yeah, and then he sort of came...
Is it called Crab Island because of...
Me.
Yeah.
Because I said, why don't we call it Crab Island? Because
Of Pete Crab?
there's an island down there called Crab Island.
Yeah. Oh, right. It's not Crab Island on the map then?
Yeah.
It's on an OS?
Crab Island isn't, no, it's called Rothersker.
Yeah.
Which is where we are, Rotherslade Avenue, it's where I live. But I made a board with Pete, and then I went to Porteleven with that and surfed it. Small Porteleven, sorry, it wasn't big. Then I made another one to go to Australia with, and I took that over, and the first wave was Kira for me. Oh, it was interesting. It was sort of quiet compared to what it's like now, but it was busy, and I was young and sort of I will have a go at anything then. And backhand for me, not the best. Set came through.
On a board you've made yourself?
Somebody wiped out. I thought, this will put it to the test now. Woof, straight over the falls, straight on the bottom. Leash around my ankles. I was like trussed up. getting dragged along the bottom at Kira. It was pumping, it was 6 foot. I was gasping, and then I sort of came up by about the Pizza Hut, got it off my legs, and just carried on past then, because the rip was just ridiculous there. And only to see Nigel Semmons and Steve Daniels on the shore. They didn't know me, but they were the heroes.
They would have been the 2 top British surfers
They were.
at the time, alongside Sumter, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think they'd just been washed up. So
Oh wow.
You feel better about yourself.
but I did get 2 good waves, and I thought that's worth the airline money already. 2 waves at Kira. It was over my head, and I wasn't pig dogging. I could never get down that far. Always tie my shoelaces with my foot on the table.
Well, that's the effort. It's the effort that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, but I made a few, and I was very happy. And it was the 1980 Stubbies was on, and all the surf stars from all around the world were there. There was, Crest, I think Mark Richards was there, Tom Carroll, don't know about Curran, Sean Thompson, Terry Fitzgerald, Dane Keelower, and they were all in the contest, but because the surf was so big, they were coming down to Kira when they were not in the heats. And I'd see them. I took shots as well and went in, and they're in the water. I thought, this is just like being in a surf film. And fantastic experience. And then afterwards, 2 days of this, there was a big party. I went to the Stubbies party with some Australians who'd been to Wales.
Oh, yeah.
And we knew them, and they sort of sorted us out with a bit of accommodation and looked after us. Well, they were right Aussies, There was Big Jim, Ferg, and they were sort of Gold Coasters, hardcore. So at the party, we were sculling these beers, and they are bloody Poms, can't drink, and they're drinking like these little things all the time.
Stubbies, literally.
Stubbies.
Yeah.
So it was nothing. So they had these jugs then. So I got the jug. And they were Pom's going to scull the jug, is he? And of course, I could. There's only 2 pints. It's down like that.
They were doing that in Anfield when you were 12, probably.
Yeah. Well, pints of Higson's, and a pork, and not a pork pie, meat pie.
Yeah.
And somebody with a rolled up newspaper in your pocket, peeing down it and draining it. So these Aussies seem quite lightweight. Anyway, it ended up, I think it went straight to my head, the beer. And I ended up in a flower bed. And I looked up, and I thought the sprinkler system had come on. But it was the Aussies. They were hosing me down. Because I was covered in, I was sort of covered in soil and everything. And I'm probably sick.
Yeah.
It was a ridiculous party. And suddenly, I've got to go. I had been in Kuala Lumpur. And then I thought, I've got to go in Burley now, in this house. And
So was the last time you'd been in Kuala Lumpur then?
I'm normally quite regular. And got up out this flower bed covered in urine. We'll save the camera, because I know we're not supposed to swear on this. And is piss swearing?
You can say piss.
Oh, they pissed, yeah.
Australia. We're talking about Australians here, aren't we?
Yeah, good Aussie lads.
We've got to use requisite uncouth language.
Yes, yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I'd use some of the Queen's English.
Yeah.
But they pissed all over me. Anyway, the next thing, the number 2 was coming on, all the Aussie pies, and I was hallucinating around this house party, and I went into this little back room. Knocked on one door. There's people in the toilet, and I don't think they were using the toilet for urination or something, but they were bent over the top of the cistern. I thought, I don't like the look of that place. So I went into like a utility room, like we've got here. But I thought, Jesus, this is a high toilet. Hey, high toilet. They got the lid up. I'm sitting on it. I think, I hope nobody comes in. Oh, I'm just sitting there like this. Anyway, someone opens the door. Get out. Finished in a minute. Went out, and next thing I thought, I've got to leave this party. I don't feel right, don't feel right. I was just covered. I was drenched. So I was walking around this Gold Coast estate around the back of Burley, and I was, it's like I'd had too much acid, but it was just all the beer. And I knocked on the door to ask where, my way. It was just like an estate, being lost in a housing estate, but it was an Australian-style one. And this couple were English, and they said, lad, they spoke in Aussie accents, but they said, son's over in UK. You poor bastard. They said, look at the state of you. I said, what do you mean? They looked down, Oh, right, yeah. Oh, and I felt round the back. Don't remember using any toilet paper in that place. Don't think there was any. And they hosed me down on the drive with a hose. They said, we'll clean you up and we'll give you a bed. The bed was in the garage. It was like sort of camp bed. And they took my clothes off me and handed them to me in the morning after giving me breakfast. Hope our son's not in this state in the UK. And I said, I don't think he will be. There's no Aussies over there. He should be quite safe. Anyway, I'm walking along the Gold Coast Highway, trying to find my way back, trying to remember where I was staying. Not at their place. This big estate car goes by, the windows out, and they're going, it's the other side of the Gold Coast Highway, which there's a divide they couldn't turn round. They shouted and screamed, get it, you bloody animal. You shitting our top loader, mate. They're gonna bloody kill you, mate. So I started running, then with underpants in the shopping bag, and I went down the back streets. I found it where I was staying, Tim Mumford's house it was. And I said, where are the others? Oh, they've gone up the Sunshine Coast. It's Noosa Swell. Oh, they're great. They're taking all your stuff. So I was stuck with
So you had to move,
board shorts. So I stayed there then, and just surfed Kira and a couple of dips here and there, Burley, Tugan, Currumbin, and then eventually went up to the Sunshine Coast, which was seen quite civilised after the Gold
to get
Coast.
the rest of your stuff.
Bloody Goldie. Yeah. Last time I go there. Well, it wasn't.
Wow. You'd have won Surf Travel Nightmares last year with that one.
Okay, so you it's fair to say that you got your money's worth out of the Hall Pass trip then, and returned to the UK.
Oh yeah, got very good value.
And once back in the UK, you were presumably still surfing, making ends meet. And I've got a note here that says working the markets.
Yeah, came back and obviously got married after I'd been allowed to go to Australia, and the big wedding down in Cardigan, overlooking Cardigan Bay, a famous river mouth down there that nobody knows about.
With a nice popular hotel for weddings overlooking it.
Yes,
we had, of course,
had my honeymoon night in there.
I believe friend of the show and co-presenter Elliot Dudley spent his honeymoon week staying in that hotel.
Oh God!
Oh goodness me! We're talking about right. Anyway, nobody knows of it.
No.
There's no surf spot there.
No. Anyway, I didn't.
For most of the time,
I didn't perform on the honeymoon night. It's probably due to the wedding. I think I collapsed. But I didn't want to drink too much on that night. I remember, because I did have a big job, which was involving the markets.
Please
yes.
elaborate.
So instead of being a teacher, I decided to sell handbags on all the South Wales markets, like Cornelli, which was a famous one.
Yeah.
Used to go there, and I'd repair the handbags, buy them cheap, stick them and stitch them, and put studs in them, have them all up for the ladies, and they go, oh, I remember the accents.
So you're a fashion designer?
Yeah. Oh, I love the smell of leather, they used to go. And they were all plastic. And I just sell tons of them. And it financed my trips. Because it was about 500% profit in those things. Yeah.
And in addition to working the markets,
yes,
and your kind of endeavours in the fashion world, you then went on to shape for Crab Island, and later Roger Cooper. Yeah,
so all along I was shaping, and Roger Cooper sort of let me in on his thing, because he was exporting loads of boards to France, France, Spain, and Portugal. In the early days, because they didn't have any real surfboard manufacturers down there. I think Stark used to make them in La Bar.
JP Stark, yeah.
Yeah, and Roger was the outsider coming in with loads of cheap boards, and I don't think they liked it. But we used to go, and Roger let me shape, and I took to it quite well, because I was artistically minded and quite good with my hands. and very good on shapes. So I did the waist one, and then I eventually developed it into proper surfboards and produced loads of boards for Roger. And he was doing island style, cool change. He had all these different names. Roger Cooper surfboards. I think he did Roger August as well. Oh, no, sorry. Roger September. I think he got it from Robert August.
Right, okay, so Roger September.
Yeah, Roger September.
Yeah.
But he's fantastic, Roger. You know, he's someone that's really underrated as a surf pioneer in my mind. And he did everything. He'd been all over the place underground before people knew. I think he used to go with Keith Beddoes, and they'd been to Madeira before it was even known about, and they'd surf all those breaks. The little island off the top of Lanzarote, he'd surf that. They'd paddle across to it, and, you know, it's 10 foot, and he'd surf pipe. Popped both of his knees out. Was in hospital. Cooper, you know, he'd done it all. Morocco, about 15 foot. They weren't shy. And he still gets no sort of recognition, you know, Roger Cooper. Yeah. But he was the man, to be honest. And I was glad to be working for him. And there was a group of us. There was Niall from Aberavon, Neil Hume. He was a gnarly character. Aberavon type, you know. Awful type, I always call him. He doesn't mind it.
No.
Dean Casley, Albie, the glasser, the rattler, as they call him, the rattlesnake. And Roger. And he'd have us, you know, producing boards, doing our jobs. And if we got it wrong, Roger was an engineer at first. He had this nasty metal ruler, which he'd grab your hand, pull it. You made a mistake on that board, Gilly. Give me a hand. And he'd whack it with the hard metal ruler. You know.
That's the
it was like corporal punishment.
It's the secret to these boards being so
good. Yeah, and you get the shape right.
This is slave labour here we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's something they should employ these sort of techniques in schools now. They get better results, far better results.
Yeah.
But you're not allowed to touch them now, are you?
No.
You mentioned a name there, Albert Harris.
Oh.
You went on to work with Albert and Gad at Original Design Development, Odd.
Odd, yes.
Well, you certainly shaped my first...
my brain...
My second board, actually.
This is Alzheimer's kicking in, because I was trying to remember what odd meant.
Original Design Development.
And I know it well, because it's written on the thing, but there we are.
There was, in between those, wasn't there Dog's Bollocks as well?
Dog's Bollocks. I don't know who thought of Dog's Bollocks, but...
It was either you or Albie, wasn't it?
Yeah, and we got the label, and, you know, nasty bird. Bulldog with these things underneath it.
Yeah.
Don't know if you can say bollocks on this, but yeah, they had big Dog's Bollocks, and they took off. People liked it.
Yeah.
You know, that was the calibre of people that you used to sell to.
Was Chris Gadd spraying these things? Because Chris Gadd had the same factory as Albie, didn't he?
Gad was the sprayer, yeah. Very creative mind, Gad. A very funny bloke, you know, for a German.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had the square head, the box head. He was always known as the German.
Oh, he's a great guy. I remember when I did a summer bit of work whitewashing the roof of that factory where you guys were.
Yes.
When I would have been 18, 17, 18.
Oh, the porter cabins, you mean?
Yeah, and with Dan Harris.
Yeah, because I think they were black. Because I used to go in there.
Yeah.
It's a metal box in the summer.
Yeah.
Be 30 degrees.
Yeah.
And maybe you have to, shape Rob's board.
Yeah.
After driving all the way over from Swansea.
Swansea.
To do one board. And I'd be in there. And it would be about, 120 degrees.
Yeah.
And you'd just about get through a board.
So
you painted it white, did you?
He had us whitewashing the roofs. And it was really grueling. His shoulders were burning.
Yeah.
And then Gad would sort of come and start telling us stories, and they'd be great stories. And then he'd always end. We'd forget, and we'd just sit there listening to a story, and he'd go, and I'll tell you what else, boys. Get painting, and because we'd stop painting listening to these
I
stories.
can see him.
You know?
He is. He's a funny bloke.
Lovely fellow. I saw him a couple of days ago.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Oh, pass on my regards.
Just sold his paint shop, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's retired then.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Yeah, he's a grandfather, and yeah.
So there was Gad. He did one of my boards actually. I was going to the Canaries to meet my parents with Sarah and my aunt and uncle, my mum's sister. And we never really swore in the house and stuff like this. It's just it's a bit of respect in the household. Anyway, about 2 days before going, your board's ready, Gill, he goes. Oh, great. Yeah, shaped it. It was like a 6'2" squash tail thruster in a bag for me. Pulled it out. Oh, there was 36 cock and bollocks stencils sprayed on the bottom in pink on one side, yellow deck with black ones on the other side.
For you to go to Lanzarote.
Yeah, to beat the parents and wander around with this board. So, we got there, and I said, "Oh, gee, they're going to want to see me surfing now." So I kept it in the bag for days. I had a windsurfer as well at the time, so I stuck to windsurfing for a bit. Came down from the apartment one morning. Oh, the board's gone. Jesus, and the bag. So you can just imagine, the Spaniard's face when he opened it up. ¿Qué? 36 cocks. 36. So I got rid of that one, and my parents never actually saw it.
It's the one-time theft worked in your favour.
Oh, it did, yeah, and I did get insurance on it, but they raked me over the coals. The loss adjuster, who owns Llangennith Car
Can you
Park.
describe it? Any distinguishing features, sir?
It was, yeah, yes.
So, you also worked for S4C for a while.
Yes, yeah. So I was always doing the markets, and they slowly phased them down as they sort of died a bit of a death. And I was looking for jobs in other things, and I was importing clothing and selling it to shops. And then S4C came along, and they were quite interested in me. I was quite interested in them because it was the camera work, and they gave me not a job full-time. They would have given me a full-time job editing in a dark room, and they wanted me to do that full-time, and they're going to pay well, which I would have had to have driven to Cardiff every day for. And I just thought, no, I'll just do some freelance filming with you and general guidance. So I used to guide them on surfing. They were doing surfing programs. And they did one on Carwyn, and I guided them down to Carwyn. They thought I was the Messiah when I found him in Señor's car park in a van.
I mean, where else would you find Carwyn?
How did you know he was here?
Yeah.
It was he's right where you said he would be.
It's like they've been on a Heart of Darkness style journey. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, they didn't know that there wasn't a battery in the van. It hadn't moved for 3 years.
And Carwyn appears at the door, naked on his step. Starts hosing down in front of them. And they thought, oh, it's not the chap we thought he was. And then offered them a cup of tea in his van without washing his hands. All the cups. They hadn't been washed for about a month. And I don't know what they've been used for, but because I knew what the scene was going to be like. And a cup of tea, Gill? I said, no, I'll stick to water, thanks. And they're like, oh, yes, lovely cup of tea, please, Carwyn. Carwyn. They said, yeah, lovely cup of tea, please, Carwyn. They were Welsh speakers. And then they saw what was going on with the cups and the Nutella jar story with Carwyn, with his girlfriend, enjoying the second-hand Nutella, dishing out Nutella, boys. And then the cups were lined with like it looked like they had soup in them or something, And they had them out going, drink your tea up, boys. Let's get out. I was drinking the water out of a pretty grim glass. And they were shaking, drinking the thing. Tell us more, Carwyn. Tell us more stories. Anyway, yeah, that was the Carwyn. We had quite a lot of stories with Carwyn.
And not to paint you as Dal Boy, but in addition to all these jobs you've mentioned already, you then went on to run a B&B.
Oh, yes, that was quite a bit later. Sarah, I'd come back from somewhere, surfing, I think it was South Africa. And she said, we just bought a B&B. I said, what do you mean a B&B? Bed and breakfast? Oh, jeez, no. A life of dishes and beds and God knows what. So we lived down the road in Langland Road, quite happily in a house, it was quite cheap, and we sort of did it up over time. We didn't have much money or anything. And this place was a rundown B&B, but it was an absolute bargain. And it was a master, class move by her in property, because it shot up in value. This Rotherslade Road shot up in value. Nobody ever wanted to live down here. It was flats, and who wanted to live by the sea? And now, of course, they do. So we had that, and it was a bit of a faulty towers, The inspector would come in, and the inspector did come in, and the first thing he did was tread in lump of dog shit in the hall from our dog, Flynn, who'd had a bad stomach. Never, uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
It's on the floor. Oh, my God. It was sort of, oh, my God.
Great start.
Great start. And in the kitchen, and there was this rat that was around that we kept trying to get, and he spotted the rat droppings. I said, oh, it's a nightmare. Dog can't catch it. But he may have caught it last night, because I think he's had a bad stomach. And we passed anyway. We got the 4-star, and it was 13 years of making well, Sarah used to make the beds and doing breakfasts.
And at one point you said your teacher from when you were in Vancouver came to stay in it by coincidence.
By coincidence. I was serving breakfast, this lady, yeah, I'm a Canadian, yeah. Oh, I said, whereabouts are you from then? Montreal. She was on
Montreal, not Vancouver. Yeah.
Montreal's where we lived, yeah. And she said, I'm an art teacher. I said, some of my artworks on the wall, I was pointing them out. She liked them. She said, who's the artwork? I said, oh, it's mine, it's my prints, not surfing stuff. Oh, yeah. I teach art in a school. Well, I used to, she said. I'm retired now. I used to teach art in Westmount High in Montreal. I said, I used to go to Westmount High when I was young. She said, I said, from Liverpool. You 2 brothers from Liverpool, weren't you? Yes. I said, yeah, that's us. My brother lives in Canada, and I'm serving you breakfast here.
Wow.
Sheer coincidence.
Amazing.
Incredible.
It was.
Let's get on to surf trips.
Yes.
Or back onto surf trips. Your first major ones to France in the 80s, that was basically to sell boards. That was the way you'd go down there to sell boards, right?
Yes. The first one, I did go from Manchester.
Right.
I'd forgotten. I'd went before Newquay.
Okay, to France.
Because I'd seen in the book the shots of
Le Bar, probably.
Le Bar and everything.
Yeah.
So I went down as France. I was sort of learning, novice-y type surfer. And I went in La Fatania one day, which was big, and Laird Hamilton's father was in.
Billy Hamilton.
He was the star of the show.
I've heard this story. I think he was the star of the show, but you were repeating your Kira antics, weren't you? Or at least your water Kira antics.
I got caught by a set.
Yeah.
And it was quite big because they were all in, on biggish boards. They were treating it seriously. And I got washed up, I was bubbling salt water. I could smell the sweetness of the water in my, it was. I thought I was drowning at the time because I was, and then I washed up, spluttering on the shore, and Roger Mansfield was peering over me. I didn't know who he was, but he said, "Oh, you want to be careful out there." I said, "I haven't been surfing long." He said, "Oh, great effort. Well, where are you from?" And that, and I told him, and sort of became quite friendly with him. After that, and he's seen me when I've been down in Cornwall, and when I went to Cornwall then, I used to chat with Roger, but that was my first introduction to sort of heavy waves, I'd say, France. Then I wanted to go back for more, and with Roger working, he'd take us down in the van. It'd be me, him, Gad, Dean Casley, be the rabble, and King Cooper. And he was like a legend down in France and northern Spain. Roger Cooper surfboards, and we'd turn up, and Roger, he was sitting in the front of the van, I remember, in Sopolana, northern Spain, and all these kids, they were buying boards. And Roger was there eating a banana, just couldn't be bothered, and this little kid comes, he goes, Roger, Roger Cooper, en persona. He's going, en persona. Did you see this? Oh, what do you want, kid? Yeah, what do you want? Oh, autograph, Mr. Roger.
Wow.
Yes, Roger. I don't think so. He carried eating his banana and slammed the door. And, Sopolana. We had quite a few times around that region. Mundaka, we always used to go. Yeah.
Busy then?
Busier. I had been on just an early French trip with Sarah. And I'd surfed Mundaka, like ceiling height. Perfection, and there was about 5 people in, and it was the dream. I'd heard of it. It wasn't really mentioned much, but I knew it was a good left. And when we got there, I went, and when I came out the water, I came back. I was telling people that is the best wave in the world, unless you're a psycho sort that wants slabs and you want to hurt yourself. And
with a good sandbank, it possibly is, isn't it?
it probably is.
Yeah.
It was good as Kira, but it gets bigger and there's more of it. So I was possessed by Mundaka, and I used to make myself boards, and I still trim into the tube and then go up and over the falls inside the barrel, smiling at people out on the shoulder. But I'm not the world's best surfer, but I can.
At Mundaka, it's just with the right sandbank.
Yeah.
Incredible wave. I think about what it must have been like to surf that place without a crowd, because that's the problem. It's just one of these where it's just such an incredible wave, but your chances of getting one.
I would go back, and people would recognise me. A couple of the locals, I can't remember.
Craig Sage, probably.
He hadn't. I don't think he was quite there yet, but he appeared then, and I became big friends with Craig actually. Especially through Billabong, who I did Billabong with Brad, and we went down to sales meetings. Craig Sage was always there. Funny bloke. We had great laughs, but always welcomed in Mundaka then.
Yeah.
Except there was about an 8-foot set coming towards me, and Craig's in the lineup with his Spanish locals. Gill, he got it in the lineup. I didn't realise he'd already pulled my leash off and started ducking my head under just before the set was going, and left me. He thought it was hilarious. Yeah, that was after pulling the keys out the ignition as we pulled into Mundaka outside his shop and chucking them in the sea.
So Mundaka, welcome.
Yes, lots of times in Mundaka, more than I can count. And the Billabong Pro-Am, which they asked me the forecast for it. It was in Hossegor, and do you think Mundaka will work the next day?
Yeah.
And I looked at the map.
Pictures from that. And
it was the Nick Lavery one. I got the shots of Nick. But we were there. Aussies. Wayne Lynch was there. I think it was Jeremy Biles who eventually won it, and it was pumping Mundaka. It's not
Kira local Jeremy Biles, I think. Yeah, but
I think he is up. Yeah, Byron Kira, so sort of there, and he was top class. And Wayne Lynch, and there was another Aussie we were staying with, who went in sheepishly, had a hangover, and he'd left his wetsuit next to my bed, and Craig Sage had recommended these big greasy ham sandwiches filled with butter. It's some Spanish delicacy. It was like belly pork.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
So we had them.
Yeah, they eat a lot of that.
We'd had plenty to drink and stuff. And anyway, in the night, I thought I'd feel ill. And I always get to the toilet to be sick. But this one time, I think I was sharing the bed with him because it was like sardines sitting for us.
Yeah, small property is small down there. Yeah.
And I just hewed over the side of the bed, back to sleep. And
he's got a heat in that wetsuit in the morning.
He's got the heat. He's in first. I had to wake him up because he was red-eyed and sweating.
Yeah.
he picks up the suit which was inside out. You had to turn it in, shook it off. Bloody hell, what the hell is this? I said, some dirty bastard's been here. Spewed it by the look of it. So he went in, first set hit him, and he's washed up the river. I think you had to get the bus back. And Wayne Lynch is in on the yellow board.
Yeah.
You've probably seen the shots. It was
I've
12 foot, it was an inch, probably 15 foot.
Yeah.
No, sorry. It'd be 20 foot now because they actually measure it, don't they?
Yeah.
They don't give it Hawaiian sizes. Yeah, so
it was huge.
Yeah,
Mundaka
formerly 6 foot Mundaka.
It was,
the Hawaiian 6 foot, triple overhead. So Wayne Lynch, she's killing it then. And they're on the tannoys, and I think it must have been Craig Sage. Craig, so you got this in the bag, Craig. Dave's washed out. I think he's in Guernica, and the other guy's not getting very far. Anyway, English guy's arrived late for his heat. Oh, English guy. Who's this? And I knew who he was. And this bloke paddled across, out of the harbour, across the peak, 10 foot. Took off as it was pitching, stood up, arms behind the back, straight down the line. It was wine. I think the Tom's going to beat you, mate. You need another wife. They said, and it was Nick Lavery. He'd been in Oxford University, I think he used to go to. Hadn't served for 3 months. Flew in, got the train and the bus into Mundaka. The train to Mundaka, goes straight to Mundaka. Borrowed a board and a wetsuit and paddled out in a sweat. And that was the shot you see of him with the hands behind the back. Yeah. So I got all the shots.
Amazing.
Fantastic.
And I think that will be where we'll go next, will be to talk about photography, because of course we've just been hearing everything about your life up to date. I suppose the sort of the making of Paul Gill, but what most of our listeners will know you for is the photography